شمشين للرمو مثلك القوين لي قادش 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 مريوم غرب دخرو كل قادش وقودو شتلت الحد قادشو ليت شبهته علبش ما يهولك بيتو يدخلون لما رفتوا قادش ولا عنيد.
Welcome everybody to the Lion's Den. I have with me Shamosho David Sauma. Thank you for coming on. This is for the Ethnicity series. He's going to be presenting on the Aramean case. We haven't had an episode in this series for a while, so I'm happy you're here. Thank you for coming, David.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. So if you guys don't know, if you didn't read the description, David comes from a strong Aramean nationalist side of things. His father has been doing it for a long time. His grandfather was a student of a bishop that was on that side, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hasyo Dolabani.
Yeah. So you are continuing the fight.
Yes.
Yeah. Go, take the floor. The floor is yours, David.
Thank you. First of all, I just want to say that I'm honored to be here. And second of all, I want to apologize if I step on anyone's foot. Nothing I say is personal. Everything it's love, but I have to say my truth and what I believe to be true.
I noticed your last name, Soma. It's Eastern Medinhoyo pronunciation. I think that's interesting.
Yeah, that comes with moving to Sweden.
Okay.
Because of they didn't know how to write in Latin alphabet, so they wrote in different ways. My oldest uncle, he wrote Saume, and the rest of the family wrote Sauma instead. So it's a diaspora thing.
Got it.
Yes. All right. Where to begin? Let's start with who are the Arameans. The Arameans is a people that come from Aram, obviously, son of Shem. But the people, as we know it, didn't really exist till later. The first mention of Aram, the name Aram, not the people, are from 2,300 years before Christ, where the Sumerians spoke of Aram. And later we see that small kingdoms start to pop up throughout the Fertile Crescent, which is today's Levant, Mesopotamia, and some parts of today's Turkey. Kingdoms like we can read in the Bible, we have We have Haran. We have also Damascus. Um, and later we also see um, uh, where is it? We have Aram Soba, Aram Maka, um, and obviously the word Aram before the name um, points at it being of Aramaic origin. But we also have Beth, as in Beth Nahrin, Beth Adini, Beth Zamni, and so on. Um, the word Beth, as you probably know, means house of X, Y, and Z. Um, so this is common throughout the Aramaic Aramean people, and we can also see in the Bible, the old Hebrew Bible, we see them call Mesopotamia uh, Aram Nahrin, which in the Hebrews' eyes, Mesopotamia, as we know it, was the land of the Arameans. Not as a whole, but because obviously we have the Assyrians um, and the Chaldeans, um, but if we read what Taglat Pilasser the third in his writings, he mentions 35 or 36 um, uh, what's it called? Um, uh, tribes. He mentions 35 tribes, which one of them is the tribe of Kaldu. I know uh, many Chaldeans say that they come from Kaldu, but what is a Chaldean? Chaldean is the same thing as to say a New Yorker. Is someone that comes from Chaldea. But what is their origin? Their origin, according to Taglat Pilasser III, is Aramean. Um, the, so throughout history, we see that the uh, the Assyrians, the old Assyrians, the ancient Assyrians, often had um, conflicts with the Arameans, but also we can also see that they had cooperation with them because they weren't a homogeneous people. As I said, they were multiple um, tribes and kingdoms. Um, let's see. Um, we can also see that in the Bible, um, the Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob um, are called Arameans. Um, we see it in the fifth book of Moses, where they are told to call uh, to the Lord that their father was a wandering Aramean. I know that a lot of people have taken this word wandering Aramean and have used it as a negative, something like, "Oh, you're just a wandering Aramean. Who wants to be a wandering Aramean?" Um, what is there not to be proud of? I would say our first patriarch is called an Aramean. Why would we throw that away? Even though his uh, um, family and later became the Hebrews, they're still Aramean in origin.
So, um, for Abraham,
Yes,
there's two things I want to ask you. One of them is where the Bible talks about him being from Ur of the Chaldeans. Does
yes,
that is there a conflict of um, ethnic terms there? Because the Bible also says he's a wandering Aramean, and then here it's saying he's from Ur of the Chaldeans. Which one is it? And also the
yes.
other question, when it says Ur, is it referring to Ur in southern Mesopotamia, or is it referring to Ur or Hoy by Haran in the north?
Yes. Um, the second question,
Mm.
I know that you have the opinion that it's in Urfa, but to be honest, I don't see any conflict if it's in southern Mesopotamia or in Urfa.
I don't see a
Um,
conflict. I don't see a conflict either, but I
no,
think it's the historical opinion that it's in the north. In my opinion, is what I've seen. Yeah,
yeah, sure.
yeah.
Um, I don't really have any strong opinions on that.
Mm.
If it's in the north or in the south, it doesn't really matter to me. Um,
To
but
you, it doesn't matter. Maybe to say Chaldean nationalists, it will matter
yes,
because they need it to be Chaldea in the south, kind of thing.
yes. Um, and the first question, as you mentioned,
Mm.
um, Tiglath-Pileser the third, the Chaldeans. He said that the Aramean tribe Chaldu are Arameans.
Hmm.
So to me, it just that makes it even more obvious that the word Chaldean just means that you're you're Aramean from Kaldu or Ur, um, because we can see like the Assyrian, like the ancient Assyrian text clearly says that there were Arameans in southern Mesopotamia. There were clearly Arameans in northern Mesopotamia, and they
Mm.
too brought a lot of Arameans to Nineveh, to Othur. So um, um, just that, to me at least, it makes it clear that he was an Aramean, or
Mm.
maybe not directly from his father, because it says so. We see his lineage in the Bible, but if we look at what his the son of his brother, what is called? He's called. Um, no, I'm forgetting his name. Um, so, I don't remember, but his name, the Aramean,
The son of whose
is
brother?
the brother of Abraham.
Lot. Lot.
Uh, I think so, yes.
Yeah.
He's called the Aramean.
Okay.
If we look at the lineage, they have the same lineage. Why is
Mm.
he called the Aramean and Abraham is somehow just a Chaldean? He has nothing to do with the Arameans.
Have you heard the theory that Abraham and Nabonidus is the same person?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Uh, uh, to me, I like to stick what's in the Bible
Me
and
too.
not look and not look at way later sources.
Hmm.
Um, but to me, they have. I see that they have nothing to do with each other, to be honest. Um, and if we're gonna talk about him, uh, uh, we see that there are sources that called him also an Aramean. So in that way,
Even Nabonidus,
still he
huh? Wow.
yes.
Okay.
Um, so in the end of the day, all facts, what I at least have seen, points at Abraham being an Aramean.
Mm.
Yes. Um, let's talk about the Syriacs. The name Syriac or Suryoye or Suraye. Um, if we look at history, we see that the word Syriac or Suryoye hasn't really been um, used till way later, around 400 after Christ during Moria Seruch's time. That's what
You're saying
that's all.
what wasn't used?
The word Suryoye um, uh, by us. We didn't really use the word Suryoye till way later, but the
You're
word
saying about
itself,
ourselves. You're saying.
yes,
Okay, but you're saying other people used it before that, but we didn't use it.
yes.
Okay.
We have Strabo, the Greek philosopher and writer, in his book Geography, he states that he was before Christ. Uh, he states um, that the Syriacs, as they call themselves, Aramean, and so on. So we see there that by other people we were called Syriacs or Suryoye
Mm.
um, because of um where we lived, but we never called ourselves Suryoye till way later.
So when you're saying us, who are you referring to?
Yes.
Yeah.
Just to be clear, I
Mm.
see that, in my opinion, the today's the Syriac all the Syriac churches, including um, Maronite, Chaldean, Assyrian, and Ancient Church of the East, the Syriac Orthodox Church, the Syriac Catholic Church, are
Mm.
all Aramean, um, and also the Melkite churches.
Okay.
Uh, um, even the Catholic ones, um, because I know that a lot of people in these groups have been rejecting the name Aramean. But then my question is, where did the Aramean go? Did it
Mm.
just disappear? The whole of Syria was created by the Arameans. Um, in southern Turkey, there were Aramean kingdoms, and even
Mm.
in Mesopotamia too. Where did they all go? They can't just have been just disappeared.
Disappear. So then, what if they say, for example, the Assyrian side will ask the same question? What happened to the Assyrians? Did they just disappear?
Yes,
Yeah.
um, we know that um, Assyria as a state got crushed
Mm.
by the Greeks, the Persians, and by the Babylonians.
Mm.
Um, when we read about um, the Babylonians um, crushing the Assyrian state, um, they they say that they had blood up to their knees in how much blood was shed during that time,
Mm.
like floods of blood just running through the streets. Um, so, in my opinion, the Assyrian like heritage, not heritage, but the ethnicity itself, um, it was destroyed. Not to 100%, because I do believe that today we are a people of multiple ancient people. Um, I don't deny that we have Assyrian blood, Sumerian blood, Akkadian blood, uh, but in the end of the day, what makes a people is the continuation um, of language, culture, and land. And what we see throughout history, especially during the like after the split of Chalcedon, in the Syriac writings, they all call themselves Aramean still, even though the uh, the Assyrian side says that no, we have always called ourselves Chaldean, and Assyrian, and the Chaldean side says the same about themselves. But if we
So
look yes,
go ahead.
no, if we look at what our church father says, they say that in the end of the day we are Aramean.
Okay.
Usually when they talk about Assyria or the Chaldeans, it's in a negative way.
Mm,
Like Mormichoil Rabo, he called the Persian warlord. I don't remember his name on top of my head, but he called him a Assyrian swine.
mm,
If he associated himself with Assyria, why would he call his opponent an Assyrian swine?
mm.
I don't see how, in any way, someone would use something that they call themselves as a negative.
Okay.
Um,
So now in the people that you included as Arameans, you said the Syriac churches plus the Rum, right? So
yes,
um here and I'm guessing you would probably put the Siryon of the anti-Lebanon mountains, the Western Aramaic speakers, and also maybe the what are they called, the Muslim Suryoye in Tor Abdin in Mardin area, Malham, what are they
uh,
called? You know who I'm talking
uh,
about, right?
I know who
Yeah,
you're talking
you would
about.
include them
Yes,
too, yes?
yeah.
Okay,
We have Muslims
yeah,
example Ma'lula. They call themselves
right.
Aramean.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. Okay. So now what? But here, um, it's a unity of two geographical areas. You have the Levant and Mesopotamia together.
Yes.
Now, um, so you don't believe that there is an ethnic or cultural distinction between these two groups, the Mesopotamians and the Levantines.
Not in the beginning, because as you probably know, like during church history, this last 2000 years, our churches hasn't been um, haven't been united or in communion, and because of that, we have been isolated, just like the old Arameans. They all had small groups of kingdoms that had their own kind of um, culture, but in the end of the day, they all call themselves Aramean.
Hmm.
Um, so um, I would say that during larger parts um, of history, we've had uh, we've been more similar than not similar.
Okay.
Um, yes, and then if you want to talk about like the Muslim invasion of the whole Levant and Mesopotamia. Uh, let's see what are they saying?
They're saying Mor Mikhail Rabo, Volume 3, page 750. He says Assyrians were called Suryoye.
Yes,
Chaldean
I
and
I
Assyrian.
I I agree with that.
Yeah.
Because as I said, he we're all Arameans. We're all inheritors of the Aramean people and the language. Um, uh, so him saying that the Assyrians are Suryoye, I see no problem in that.
Mm,
Because usually when when they talk about Othur, they talk about Nineveh. That's why Mikhail Rabo also said that he called the Persian warlord a Assyrian swine because he took over Nineveh. So he in that way he called him an Assyrian swine, or rather Othoroyo Brozo or Brozo Othoroyo. Um, so just like Mikhail Rabo, I also too agree that we're all Suryoye. And if we look at history, Suryoye has always been um, a word for Arameans. And if we want to go through the uh, where the word Syria or Syriac or Suryoyo came from, um, I do believe that according to a lot of church fathers and historians before them, that it came from Greece or the Greeks, um, and their belief that the I think it's a demigod that's called what's it called now? Um, what's it called? Cyrus.
mm.
That
So,
he went to Syria, created a kingdom, and that's why Syria is called Syria. It's during a large part of history, the Greeks have called Syria Syria. It's not
so you
because
don't.
of the Assyrians. No,
Yeah.
I
So
don't
you
believe.
don't. Do you believe the the name Assyrian is related to Cyrus or no?
Maybe I'm not 100% sure,
Okay.
because the word Assyrian and Syria are modern, or rather, it's a West wording of our people
Mm.
and our nations. Um, if we look at the Aramaic, we see that Suryoyo and Othuroyo, they don't come together.
Mm.
There's no way that at least in our language that Othoroyo and Suryoyo come from each other, or rather that Suryoyo come from Othoroyo. They have no similar letters, except the oyo in the end, but that's just a grammatical wording that we use on basically every nation.
Got it.
Um, um, so I if we look at even the Eastern church fathers, I'm gonna pull it up. Give me 1 second. Um,
So Garnick is an Armenian. He says Suryoyo and Athuroyo come together. West Semitic uses th. East Semitic uses sh. I don't know.
I'm not really sure what you mean by that, Garnick.
So the West
Uh,
Semitic family of languages and the East Semitic family of languages. One uses sh and one uses th. He's saying.
sure, but it's not an ish sound. We
Yeah.
use an s sound. It's completely different things.
Mm.
Um, uh,
What do you make of
of
the
course,
Louis
no.
inscription, David?
The
Where I don't know if you're familiar
um,
with it. It mentions
uh,
the word Suraye in the
mhm,
inscription, and it's very old. The Chinkoi inscription, it's called, from the 8th century BC or something like that.
mhm,
And it talks about the Assyrians, um, like the king and whatever, and
mhm.
it uses the word Suraya at that time.
Hmm.
I don't know if you've heard of it.
Um, I've seen it been used on Twitter,
Mm.
but haven't really delved deeper into it.
Okay.
Um, but
Let me
as
know
I
when you
said,
got it. That's fine.
as I said, um, uh, the word Aramean, or rather Suryoye or Syriac, we haven't used it, but I'm not shocked that if someone in the West, like close to Greece, have
Mm.
been using it on us,
Mm.
uh, or even on themselves,
But this is
um,
before Cyrus, I mean.
before Cyrus.
Yeah, that's why I brought it up.
Um, mm, 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 Cyrus. Um, yeah. I don't have enough knowledge on that
No
to make a
worries.
comment
That's
really.
fine. No problem.
Um, um, let's see. I finally found the source.
Okay,
Give me 1 second.
sure.
Yes, here we go. On uh, Isho Barnun, um, from the Nestorian Church,
Mm.
he says this. Uh, he says Syria was thus called by the name of Cyrus, who, having killed his brother, reigned in Mesopotamia. Hence, the whole region during his reign was called Syria. But in ancient times, Syriacs were called Arameans. We know that the Aramean language which Abraham spoke was the Syriac. So this is um, uh, let's see, what is it? He was a patriarch of the Nestorian Church of the East, um, and he lived in today's Mosul.
Mm.
So even in the East, where they call themselves Assyrians, said that Syria was not a part of, it doesn't come from the word Assyria.
Mm.
Yes. Um,
Okay, and so the name of the language, Suryoyo, Surate, that is also related to this.
The word Surayt, it just comes from the Syriac Suryoye.
Yeah,
Yes, so it's just a slang for Suryoye.
right. So what I'm
Um,
saying is, for this language that everybody speaks, like they all say they speak the same language. If you look, what do they call it? They call it either Suryoyo or Suryaya. So like the Medin Hoye in Urmi, they call it
yes,
Suryaya. They speak
yes,
Suryaya. And then in Tur Abdin, they'll say Suryoyo or Suret, right? And then in Nineveh, they say Suret. So all of these are saying the same thing. So this language, they are naming it after, like you said, Suryoyo Eat, which is off of Cyrus's name.
um, technically yes,
Hmm.
because we were called by other people Syriacs. As we it wasn't till later that we adopted that wording.
Hmm. So
Um,
how come we don't call it, um I don't know, like we could say, maybe it's not classical Aramaic, but we could have come up with kind of a colloquial word to say we speak Aramaic instead. I know it comes from Aramaic, but Syriac being a dialect, right, of Aramaic, it's not Aramaic, like proper West Aramaic. It's East Aramaic that we speak. um
yeah, it's Central Neo-Aramaic.
so
And depending
Toroyo,
on where you're from, it's
yeah,
either West or East
right.
version of
So,
that.
Toroyo is central, and Medin Hoyo is east.
Yes,
Now, in this case, being that the Syriac is a dialect, the Edessan dialect of Aramaic, uh, are we referring? But you're saying even the word Syriac in Edessa comes from Cyrus, right?
yes.
Oh, okay.
But at that time, it wasn't used
Mm.
as um, by us to as a language or as a people. We
When
didn't
did you
use it
say it?
at
You
that
said
time.
the fourth century, the fifth century. When did you say it was?
Yes, during Mor Yaqub's time.
More Yaqub Suruj. Okay.
Yes, because if we look at what Morafem says, Morafem says he never calls himself Aramean. Rather, he calls himself a Roman. Why? Because he was a part of the Roman Empire at that time. But he calls his biggest opponent, Bardaisan, he calls him an Aramean.
So,
Uh,
the book, The Doctrine of Ed.
um, I can't say that I'm super familiar with it, but I've heard of it, I think.
So it's from where it comes the story of Mor Ed. He's the twin brother of Saint Thomas. He goes to Abgar Como, and he
Yes.
tells him.
All right. Yes.
Yeah. So
Um,
in this book, this is before Saint Jacob. Um, in this book, he talks about, he calls Mesopotamia. He calls it Beit Aramai, Beit Oromoy. He calls it. So all
yes.
Mesopotamia calls that. But on the Roman side of the border, when he crosses the border to the Persian side of Mesopotamia, he calls it Athur. Okay,
Mm,
and the words, that he it's clear that he considers these the same people as each other, but it's
yes.
interesting that he uses both of the terms for the same region but cross borders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Personally, I think it's he's referring to uh, the city uh, of Othur. That's
No,
why he
no,
says
because it talks about the province. Maybe you're right. Maybe he's talking about Nineveh. It's possible. It could be. Um, so you're saying Saint Jacob used it about himself?
yes, or he I can read. I do actually have um, the some citations from him from that. Um, uh, the thing is, I wasn't familiar with the English wording of it. I have all my notes in Swedish,
Oh, no
so
worries.
I'm sorry. But uh, we see here. Um, he writes this about um, Edessa or Hoy. He writes the Hebrew's daughter, Jerusalem, that is, ate his Jesus bread and drank his wine. Um, they uh, they insulted him and didn't want him to be with her. But the Aramean daughter, or the daughter of the Arameans, Edessa or Hoy, was far away when she got to hear from him. She fell in love with him and prayed him to come to her.
Mm,
This is the words of Mor Yaqub.
I see.
Um, and in the uh, same text, he says that um, Abgar Akama or Ukomo was the son of the Arameans. Um, so um, even if he were to say that on the other side they are called Othur, personally, I don't have any problem with that.
Yeah,
Because as you said, he still sees both people as the same.
right. So, is it possible that the Greeks were calling the people on their side of the border that are speaking our language with this word, Suryoye or whatever, but in
Mhm.
the Greek mind, they're thinking about the Assyrians?
Mm, the ancient Assyrians, no. The modern Assyrians, yes.
Okay, because I put in AI, I just put where does the name Syria originate? And it says
Hmm.
it originates from the Greek word, which in turn is related to the Akkadian word Ashur, meaning
Hmm.
Ashur, the capital of the city of Assyria. Assyria was a major ancient Mesopotamian civilization. The Greeks initially used Syria to refer to the Assyrians, but later it was also applied to the whole Levant. So um, the Arameans of today, so like um, and everybody in Tur Abdin, etc. They're most of Arameans are Mesopotamian. They're not
Yes,
Levantine. So they would
yes,
have been part of Mesopotamian civilization, not Levantine civilization.
yes,
Did the Arameans have a civilization in Mesopotamia, an empire?
yes,
Okay.
yes. Um, um, as I said, during Tevlat Pilaser's um, reign,
Mm.
he talks about the tribes that he conquered, and he talks about them being in Mesopotamia. So, um,
So the
uh,
Assyrians in Nineveh today, the capital of
yes,
Assyria, those are
yes,
Aramean. They're not Assyrian.
yes,
Okay.
because later, after the ancient Assyrians, the Babylonians took over.
And destroyed.
Yes,
Okay.
and they made Nineveh their capital,
Mm.
and they themselves were Aramean.
Mm-hmm.
The Babylonians were Arameans,
Mm.
um, uh, which we can see uh, uh, mentioned by the Assyrians themselves. Um, Sadly, I don't have direct sources because most of the ancient sources are in museums, and it's hard to get a hold of them if you're not a professor or something like that.
It says
Um,
the theory that the word Syriac originates from King Cyrus is not a widely accepted or supported linguistic or historical theory. The term Syriac is more commonly linked to the region of Syria and its associated cultures, as well as the Aramaic language family, which is a part of. So the connection with Cyrus is unlikely. This is AI. I don't.
yes,
Yeah.
this is AI, and they take sources. It takes sources from everything
Right.
that's online,
Yeah.
and we can't really say if it's true or not. But if, as I said, if we look at our church fathers, even the Eastern ones, they said that the word Syriac comes from Cyrus. Even the Greeks themselves, I think it's Eusebius of Caesarea,
Hmm.
even he says that the Syriacs are the Arameans, and that the wording of Syria comes from Cyrus. Um, um, so it's a it's a agree to disagree on that point. I don't personally. I think in this way, but I don't discriminate if you believe it comes from the wording of Assyria.
Yeah, look, with the ethnicity series that I do, I give all the sides a platform if they want. My only thing is they have to be like with the cameras on and the name and everything. Um, uh, we've had multiple Aramean side. You're the second, I think. Plus there's a Syriac presenter, so that's three. And then the Assyrians have had a few. The Chaldeans haven't had one yet because they haven't they don't want to show their faces. So my only thing is uh, all everyone who has come on has said we are the same people. It
Yes,
doesn't matter. So that's the most important thing, is that no one's dividing us by saying that we're separate little tiny groups. No, we're all one, and this is very important.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Um, uh, with that being said, I do want to um shine a light on the 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 active deletion of Aramean and Chaldean too history and the naming themselves.
Mm,
Um, I know that um, on Wikipedia, I know that Wikipedia isn't the most the best source in the world, but in the end of the day, it is the biggest source of information that you can get your hands on.
mm,
And um, I know that I have friends that have been um writing articles about the Aramean heritage, the Syriac heritage, and it keeps on getting deleted, and also on the Chaldean side by Assyrians. Um, so
Wait,
while I do believe
is the Chaldean side saying that they're Aramaean?
no,
Oh,
the Chaldean side is say that they're Chaldean, of course.
okay.
Uh,
So then,
even though we disagree on that point, we still have this the same experiences on that side.
Okay, but if there's something that is separating the people, it's false information. Why should it be allowed to be there?
Could you explain a bit more?
Like, for example, let's
Yes.
say all of them, let's say all three are saying that they're Aramean on the Wikipedia pages. They're all saying
Yes.
they're Aramean. But the Chaldeans and Assyrians want to come on and say that they're not Aramean and put their own separate thing. So then you're going to create, on the biggest source of information for the world, you're going to separate our people into three small groups. It's
Sure.
you're destroying the unity of our people.
Absolutely. I agree with you on that. But the
Mm.
problem is, even if we were to put in, let's say, Assyrian, Aramean, Chaldean, Syriac, that wording, that whole name,
Mm.
in the end of the day, is still gonna get deleted. I see that also that a lot of people on the Assyrian side have been denying that they speak Aramaic. Um, they say that Aramaic comes from Assyrian. It's mind-boggling that some people even think that.
Of course, we speak
It's
Aramaic.
yes, but still people want to deny the Aramean heritage. I have also seen that people um, have called have said that Jesus spoke Assyrian. No, he spoke Galilean Aramaic. He didn't
Yeah,
speak Assyrian.
I think there are extremists on all sides, but also um, there is there are historical technicalities that to the common ear are going to sound crazy. Like, for example, to say, that uh, the Aramaic of Palestine in the first century was Assyrian sounds crazy at first when you first say it. Then if the person knows what he's talking about and you ask him, what do you mean? What do you mean they spoke Assyrian? He will probably bring up Ktov Ashuri, the language that they brought over from Babylon and the script. Maybe
Yes,
they mean this, but when you just say it with no qualification, it's like, what are you talking about? Jesus spoke the same language as Sargon the Great. I don't understand what you mean. So yeah, I think we should be proud to say Aramaic in the same sense that Jesus spoke Aramaic. Um, it's not something to shy away from or to change the language or anything like that. For sure.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Um, I can see why people want to call the language Assyrian. If you associate, if you call yourself Assyrian, you want your language to also be Assyrian. You don't want to speak someone else's language. I get it, but
I think
you,
The Assyrian Empire standardized Aramaic as the language of the
yes,
empire. Yeah.
yeah. And the ancients, like we see Nebuchadnezzar, when the Hebrews um, went to Babylon, what did they speak? It was Aramaic. They
But
said to him that we speak the speak in your tongue. We speak it also.
maybe we're in different online circles sometimes, Shamosho, but from what I see, the biggest proponent of not speaking Aramaic, calling it a different thing, and saying we absolutely negating that we have anything to do with Aramaic is actually a Chaldean nationalist that I see online. I don't see a Syrian
Uh,
doing it.
uh, uh, uh,
The
do,
same
do you know?
Nabonidus guy that we were thinking about earlier. You know who I'm talking about. So that guy, he's the one who keeps saying we don't know Aramaic. We have nothing to do with Aramaic. It's him. It's not. I haven't seen it from anyone else.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. But then we have like on Instagram, we have that. I don't know. You probably know him. He's like he lives like an hermit in Iraq. I
I don't
don't
have
remember
info on that. I don't know.
his at, but like he even have had Oliver Tree going to Iraq and chilling with him in full like Assyrian clothing and all. But he's one of the biggest Assyrian influencers, and he denies that the language is Aramaic. He says that Aramaic comes from Assyrian.
Mm.
So I've seen a lot in like specifically Assyrian nationalist groups that they deny that Assyrian is Aramaic, and they say that Aramaic came from Assyrian,
I
which
don't.
historically is
Yeah, forgive my ignorance, but I don't know that the like. Is there an Assyrian language? Is there a language called Assyrian? There isn't, right?
no.
Okay,
It's the 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 ancient Assyrians they used Akkadian.
that's what I mean. So
Yes,
the empire went from Akkadian as the language to Aramaic as the language. Right.
yes,
That's what I thought. Okay.
but but also they actually still used um, Akkadian as um, their um, state language. Like they wrote everything in Akkadian but spoke in Aramaic, as we can see with Nebuchadnezzar. Um, uh, because he wanted the whole thing with he wanted to get a translator because the he didn't know that they spoke Aramaic, and they also didn't know that they spoke Aramaic at first.
Hmm.
Um, and also, if we will look at the text from that time,
What did they think they
it's
spoke
okay.
if they didn't know? If they didn't know they spoke it, what did they think they were speaking?
Probably Akkadian.
Okay.
But when they came to the king, they realized that they spoke Aramaic, and they said, "We speak the same language. You don't need a translator."
Yeah.
Um, uh, uh, one thing also, um, if we're gonna talk about Akkadian, I've seen a lot of people say that our dialect has a lot of Akkadian influence. Um, But if you actually study the language, we have barely any influence from it.
I think he
Sure,
means colloquially. Colloquially, like what is it, 20% they say? 20% Akkadian, something like that.
20% Akkadian, that's way of an exaggeration.
Mm.
Um, because if we look at the Greek in Syriac, I think we have like 20,000 Greek words in Syriac that we've Syriacized, if we
Yeah,
put it
yeah.
that way.
So I don't think they're
The
talking about Xobonoyo. I think they're talking about just the colloquial Surat.
Yeah, even uh, in the spoken language, if we look at how language um, evolves, how does a language that have been dead for thousands of years at this point still have an influence on the modern language? It doesn't.
Mm.
What we can see though is that languages take from other languages and people that they live nearby. If we look at um, Suryoye in the north, you see that they use a lot of Turkish and Kurdish words. If we look at the ones that speak um, Suryoye in the east, they have a lot of Arabic, Persian, and Kurdish influence, and the ones that speak it in Syria or in Lebanon, example, they have an Arabic, mostly Arabic influence.
Mm.
Even in the end of the day, languages borrow from each other. Just because, and Akkadian and Aramaic both are Semitic languages.
Mm-hmm.
Just because we have some common words doesn't mean that Aramaic evolved from Akkadian, or that Akkadian had a large impact on Aramaic.
Mm.
We can't say that.
Yeah, I don't think it's I haven't heard anybody say Aramaic comes from Akkadian, but I don't like you said they're related languages. I don't see a problem.
Absolutely.
I don't see a problem with one borrowing from another sometimes or something like
Yeah,
that, or
absolutely.
having cognates with each other, mutual words, things like. So what? What's the big deal? Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Uh, so, like, scientifically or academically, you can't say that Syriac has Akkadian influence to any extent, because if we're just gonna go by how much Greek has influence, it's way more than Akkadian. But we don't say that Aramaic comes from Greek. You say that Aramaic is Aramaic.
Yeah, yeah. I agree. I agree. I don't have a problem calling the language Aramaic. It's a like I think when we're translating the word though, like so if I see the word written Oromoyo, right, and I want to
Yes.
translate it into English, I have to be honest and translate it as Aramaic. If I see the word Suryoyo or Suryaya, I want to translate that word into English. I can't translate that as Aramaic into English because that's not what the word is. The word I have to
Absolutely.
translate it into Syriac, or depending on the context, if it's talking about the noun of the people, or something. But and I think that's where sometimes the fighting happens. The fighting happens if there's a word mistranslated into another word. Because in the original language, we all agree, doesn't matter what you call yourself, we are Suryoye and we speak Suryoyo. Everyone agrees on that. Chaldean,
Absolutely.
Assyrian, Aramean, all the sides agree on this. And then once we translate the word, that's when we start fighting each other.
Yes. Um, I I've had uh, friends that call themselves Assyrian. Um, they either won't translate the word Suryoyo, or they will translate it to Assyrian.
Mm.
But you can't translate it to Assyrian because there is a word for Assyrian, which is Othoroyo. You can't put, as you said, you can't translate Suryoyo into Aramaic, you can't either translate Suryoyo into Assyrian.
Mm.
Even though you yourself believe that Suryoyo means Assyrian, you can't translate into that.
Mm. What do you make of the silent alif in the front of these words?
Um, the silent aleph or olaf, um, let's see. Personally,
Mm.
I've never actually seen it used.
Okay.
Um, I've only heard of people saying that it have been used, um, but personally, I've never seen it, so I can't really comment on that. Um, um, but on a whim, I would say that it's um, it's probably a what's it called? It's a grammatic thing.
Yeah.
With time, all languages drop the extra. Even in our modern tongues, uh, we don't use the correct grammar when reading Ktobonoyo.
Mm.
Example, in the Syriac churches, we don't use uh, the letter P, when we always use F instead. Stuff like that. I- it's a
But
it's it's a
sometimes,
modernization. Yes,
yeah, you're right. So sometimes sometimes, like you said, just the letter, the pronunciation or lack of pronunciation of a letter is because it's gone extinct. Like for example, when you say at, right? When you
yes,
write at, you write it Olaf Nun Tau
yes,
Ant, but the N is
yes,
silent. Yeah, there's a line under it and it's silent. Um,
exactly.
so it's gone out of use. With the F and the P, it's a little different. I feel like if we just weren't lazy, we would do it. Like for example, the word malfono, grammatically speaking, is
It's
should be
Malpana.
pronounced malfono. That's
Yeah,
the right way to say it. Sometimes you use
yes.
F, sometimes you use P. It depends on the sentence. But we're just lazy and we make everything F. And the Church of the East is the opposite. They're lazy in the other way. They make everything P. So, um, so yeah, I think that's something to think about when it comes to the letters. The reason why I think it should be called this when we say Surat or Suryoyo is because not just the silent alif in the front, it's when we're talking in English. Like, for example, if we're saying, um, let's say, Araboye, right? You translate it Arabs or Araboyo Arabic, you know, or uh, Turkoyo Turkish. Suryoyo, you could say Syriac, that's fine. But Surat has to be different because Surat is not Suryoyo. There's a difference between Kithobonoyo and the colloquial language. They're not the same.
Sure, sure, but in it's still the same word, I would argue. Uh, it's as I said earlier, it's Suryoyo Eth.
Yeah.
It
So
just it's
Suryoyo
just
Eth,
shortened.
so that's okay. Suryoyo Eth is still different than Suryoyo. It's like
You
belonging
mean
to Suryoyo.
you mean as you mean as languages?
Mm,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
Suryoyo Eth is, it mean, if you translate that literally, belonging to Suryoyo. Like it's Suryoyo
Yeah,
ish, right? Suryoyo ish.
yes.
So then what is this when we want to say it into English? Into English, that's the problem, is we have to figure out it can't be the same word as Syriac.
Personally, I would use like Thobonoyo, the written language, as classical Syriac,
Hmm.
and the speaking Suryoyo as Syriac. Personally,
So the way I'm thinking about it, brother, like when we say Afrem, more Afrem Suryoyo, Saint Ephraim the Syriac, for example. Okay.
yes.
So then when we're saying, we can't say Saint Ephraim the classical Syriac, right?
Yeah,
We have to say Syriac. So then for the modern, it has to be something else. Suret, Suryoye, these people. You could say ethnically, you could match them with Ephraim. That's fine. But the language, it can't. The language, I don't know. It's something to talk more about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Um, the it's a problem that we have as a people. We
Hmm.
don't have enough um like professors and academics that put their heart and soul into the language, um, to try to keep it as is, and also to evolve it.
Mm.
Um, we I know that there have been, um, Assyrian, to make Assyrian Aramaic. Yeah, sure. Like if you say Assyrian Aramaic to the Eastern dialect, I wouldn't be mad.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even care. But if one were to remove the wording Aramaic and just say Assyrian, it's just wrong.
Right.
Um, um, yeah, absolutely. We, as I said in the beginning, I believe that larger parts of the Fertile Crescent are all the same people, but because of wars, um, and church history, we've been split up. Um, so absolutely, uh, if we, I want to bring up something interesting in the Melkite Orthodox Church. They actually used, um, Syriac rites up until, I think, the 1700s.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes,
That's
so,
right.
which points at we all having the same heritage, but because
Right.
of uh, um, church history and conflicts between the churches, a lot of a lot of books, in especially Aramaic, have been burned
Hmm.
on the western side um, of the churches,
Right.
in the in the Middle East, that is to say.
So Sweden has, from what I hear, kind of a break between um the two of the names. There's like there's it's an old war that's been happening for a long time, and each side has a bishop, right? I hear. Okay.
Yes.
This is how first I have so many questions about this. How long have the bishops been in place, and may God give them both very long lives and health.
I mean,
Um, for their successors, there, do the successors have to keep the same positions that they have now? How does that work?
um, um, as you may know,
Yeah.
we just recently had a successor, so to say,
Oh, okay. I didn't know.
to the for uh, Hasyo Hasyo Ablahad,
Mm,
which was the first bishop of Sweden,
mm,
um, and the whole North, whole Scandinavia.
mm,
Uh, but things happened.
mm.
Um, I'm not sure if I want to talk about it
That's okay.
live, because
Sure.
it's not a pretty
Okay.
scene.
That's fine.
But let's just say that, um, they had uh, they weren't on the same side.
Mm,
The bishop saw things one way, and the church itself saw things in another way.
mm-hmm,
They wanted different things, and the bishop wanted to split from the church. Um, here in Sweden, um, it's the people that owns the church. It's not the bishop. it's not the church it's not the Syriac church that owns all the local churches and stuff like that. It's the people.
Mm.
So they always have a say in how the church should run. And the bishop, he had um, other ways of thinking.
Mm.
So what happened was that the bishop wanted to split, and because of this split, a lot of during the time, um, like during the 60s, 70s, even 80s, um, the Assyrian nationalist movement
Mm.
weren't really getting any hold of any church, and they felt lesser than other, which is wrong. But
Yeah.
we have, sadly, we have history that the Assyrian nationalists wanted to take over churches, tried to rename churches, um, and they weren't treated as the same people, basically. Um, so they weren't getting um, any like ruling roles in churches. They were always denied that opportunity. So when the bishop wanted to split, a lot of Assyrian nationalists saw that as an opportunity to get back at Suryoye,
Mm.
Arameans, people that didn't like the word Assyrian, basically. So because of this split, um, um, Patriarch Zakai at that time, he put a new bishop, um, uh, Hasyo um, Dioscoros, Benjamin Atas, um, um, for the Arameans on the Aramean side, on the church side.
Mm.
And most of the Assyrian nationalists went to go with Bishop Ablahad. Um, um,
So my question was, like, when one of the bishops reposes when they pass, does the church put and has a successor? Okay.
uh, the because of Hasyo Ablahad, he went into retirement.
Mm.
They anointed a new bishop. There were talks that both sides would come together under um, Hasyo Benjamin Atas, but um, there were still people that didn't want to do that, or rather didn't want it to happen. Um, so uh, Patriarch Ephraim, he put in a new bishop instead, which is Bishop
And
Yohanan Lahna.
what do you think, like, what's the ratio there? Like, is it like 50-50, 70-20, 5-7?
Um,
Yeah.
like which churches are more?
Yeah, like what side is bigger? Are they the same?
Oh, the side of Hasyo Benjamin Atas is bigger. Uh, Maybe I think I'd say 60 or 70%
Mm.
on Hasyo Benjamin's side, and the lesser side to Hasyo Yohanan.
Okay,
Uh, but if we look at today, the relations have never been better than it
that's
is
good.
today.
Thank God.
Uh, we just like 10, 15 years ago, um, the people of the churches would talk bad about each other, um, and even fight, or at least shout at each other.
Yeah.
But today, um, the youth have really been trying to unite,
Mm.
um, because we're still the same Syriac Orthodox Church, even though we belong to different bishops. Um, we're still the same family. You like these kinds of um, petty arguments. They're not. They don't have any weight when it comes to salvation.
Right.
When
Of
it comes
course.
to God,
I
in the end
always
of the
say
day,
I wish all the people our people who are so invested in this, if they were as invested in Christology or in the theological dialogue, we would already have been one a long time ago. You know.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Um, it's really sad to see that during over 1,500 years, we haven't been able to fix the split uh, with our own people, our own churches. It's really sad to see, really.
Of
Um,
course.
I get that the Chaldean church have become Catholic, but at least, like, I pray that one day that um, the Eastern Church and the Syriac Orthodox Church come together as one. Um, I really
For
do.
me, I feel like the closest church to us is the Assyrian Church of the East because of how they define the terms hypostasis, pneuma, kiana. So we don't have to redefine anything with them. We have the same definitions, we just have different conclusions. With the Melkites, the definitions of the terms are all different, you know.
Yeah.
Because they lost their Surayuto. I don't know how to say it in Western. Yeah, Surayuto. They lost it.
Suryoye Yutho.
Okay, got it.
It's an extra U.
Yeah.
Um, uh, yeah. Um, and it's actually really sad to see that the Melkite Church have taken Arabic as their language, because it's not the original language in any way, shape, or form.
Hmm.
It's really sad to see the Arabization of our basically cousins.
Yeah, yeah, you are right. I noticed the Aramean side tends to focus towards the Levant, the west part of the Fertile Crescent, more than the east or Mesopotamian part. Is that true in your experience, and why?
Um, I would say yes, because um, if we take food as an example,
Mm,
um, in the Levant, um, like if you look at Tor Abdin, you can see Syria from the mountains. You
mm.
can see Qamishli.
Yeah,
Um, so
but that's still
the
Mesopotamia.
yeah.
Yeah.
But uh, Syria as a nation have existed a long time now.
100
Um,
years.
yeah, and because of the influence of let's say, as I said, food. Let's look at kibbe. Let's look at
Sure.
manaqish,
Uh-huh.
uh, whatever.
Yeah.
You see that the whole Levant, the modern Levant,
Mm.
have really similar food.
I see what you're saying.
Like
Well, because of yeah,
yes,
because of Damascus and Aleppo's influence, So then
Absolutely.
Levantinized the Syrian part of Mesopotamia.
Yes.
I see.
And in the east, you have Persian influence, and
Mm,
with Persian influence, you also get Indian influence,
mhm,
like the spices.
mhm.
If you look at
It's true. My mom
Iraqi,
from Basra, and in Basra we use a lot of Indian and Persian spices. That's true.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it just comes down to who you're closest to, I would say.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Um,
I think
the ones that in Torah Abdin, even though it's in modern Mesopotamia, when it comes to relations, it's closer to the Levant.
that's right. Well,
Yeah, uh,
and I think that has something to do with Mardin's proximity to Syria, Tor Abdin's proximity to Syria.
yeah,
Also,
and Midyat too.
yeah, Midyat, the Treaty of Sevres before the Turkish Revolution in 1923, all of that was going to be Syria. The line was drawn up. So I could see that. And I'm sure you know this. When Sykes-Picot was going to be um, like applied in its original form, all of Nineveh and Kirkuk and all of that was going to be Syria also.
Yes,
Yeah.
but sadly, it never happened. It is sad because we got slaughtered because of it. The it,
I think it was a picture
if
poison. I think we were going to be slaughtered in both of them. Like, look at now. Look at what's happening in Syria. So, yeah,
we pray for the best, but
yeah. Well,
uh,
thank you very
yeah.
much. I appreciate you, David. This was great. I really liked this one. We're gonna have more. I already have a Pierre scheduled to give another one on the Assyrian side, and I have a volunteer on the Chaldean side in the comments at Acadian Media. Please reach out to me, um, and we'll get the Chaldeans finally on to give theirs. Thank you again, David. God bless everyone. Like,
Absolutely.
subscribe, share. Yeah,
Could I
of course.
shout out
Whatever you want.
three things?
Sure.
First of all, support your local churches, please. Please support your local churches. It's super important that you support your local churches. Um, like even if you've like when basically let's say books. If even if you see a book online that's cheaper than the exact same book in the church, please buy the book in the church because it helps your church. And second of all, please go to go to confession, please. It's a sacrament, and we've really forgotten that it's a sacrament. It's a super important, and it's closely tied to our salvation. So please go to confession. And thirdly, if I'm allowed by Daniel, I would want to shout out our um, monastery here in Sweden.
And
We're trying
even if
to
I
build
don't let you, if I don't let you, still do it. You should still do it, even if I don't let
um,
you.
we're trying to build a monastery here in Sweden, and we're trying to collect money. Here in Sweden, uh, it's it goes slow. It's going very slow. So um, if Daniel allows me, I would love if some of you, even by 1%, donates anything to the cause. May God bless you.
All right, guys. David, do you want to give them a way to be able to donate? Like, how do they reach out to
Yeah,
you?
they have a website.
Okay, send me the
The
website. I'll put it in the description.
Yes, the only thing is that it's in Swedish, but you can use Chrome has built-in um,
Translate.
translator,
Yeah.
so there shouldn't be any problem, hopefully.
Okay.
And uh, if you guys want to donate and you can't because they can't take that way of sending money, please contact me or maybe Daniel if he can send you to me on Twitter. Um, that would be great.
All right. Beautiful. Anything else, David?
That's it.
Okay. Thanks again, guys. God bless. Like, subscribe, share, donate to the link. I'm going to put it in the description. Take care, everybody.
شمشين للروم مثل